Hi and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave and this is episode 1870A and today's date is May 17th, 2019, and the title of the episode is Trump Positions the Economy to Outmaneuver the Central Bank. Change is Coming. Now, this is the time of year that most of us have a big old clear out. We get rid of all the stuff that's collected through the winter, hidden away in the back of a cupboard or a file cabinet. There might be a gold mine. Noble Gold can show you how to blow the financial dust off those files, revitalize the dead money, and catapult your retirement savings into orbit. Just for May, to celebrate Memorial Day, they are offering a solid silver Trump 2020 coin and a 10-ounce silver bar for anyone rolling over an IRA or cash deal over $20,000. Talk to the team over at Noble Gold today and call 877-646-5347. Protect your retirement by investing in a gold IRA. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, we need to remember something very important, is that the plan is not always what it seems. Just because something didn't happen in a specific time frame doesn't mean it failed. It doesn't mean, Trump didn't get what he wanted. All this means is that this is the way the plan needs to go. I mean, if you look at the Karate Kid, which Q pointed out, Danielson did not understand the plan. Yes, he was told to do certain moves, do certain things, but didn't realize how all of this fit into how he was going to fight and how he was going to defend himself. It's the same thing with Trump's plan. Now, we all expected that the China trade talks, they were going to go through with flying colors. Or did Trump want them to fail? Why? So he can trap the central bank. Think about what he's doing right now. The central bank, they are trapped. They're exposed. They don't have a great event to cover up the collapse of their entire global system. So the central bank has been saying, listen, if the United States and China do not make a deal, it's going to bring down the economy. Now, if you're Trump, would you use this to set them up? Because if this is all they have at this point, because remember, Trump has pumped up the economy. And the economy, statistically speaking, looks incredible. The mainstream media, the deep state, the central bank, they cannot say a word about the economy. What can they say something about? They can say something about tariffs. They can say something about the trade deal. And this is what the IMF has been out there saying. This is what the mainstream media has been trying to push. And you know how Trump works. He allows these people to continually push this fake news that they're pushing, and then he traps them. Because if this is all they have, and he makes the deal and everything is great, the central bank then is completely exposed. We'll talk about that a little bit later in this report. But first, I wanted to go out to the UK and talk about the Brexit right now, because what we are seeing, everything that May tried to do, or I should say the central bank, everything they tried to do, it has failed in the UK. The Brexit talks are dead. This is coming from Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn. Now, Theresa May, she's going to set out her departure timetable next month. And Mr. Johnson has been one of Miss May's most outspoken critics over the Brexit and supports leaving the EU without a deal. Parliament has repeatedly said it does not want a no-deal Brexit. Well, that doesn't mean this is what the people want. Because what we're seeing right now in the UK is there's a huge distinction of what the people want and what the government wants. And they're not coming together. And the people are saying, you know something? We can have a no deal. Let's just leave. Nigel Farage is out there saying the same thing. And all the fear-mongering that the central bank is out there, which they're going to push, and we might even see events to scare the people. They might even try to bring down something to scare the people, because this is the way the central bank works. This is what they do to continually try to control the people of the countries. But I think the people are smarter than that. I think the people realize that this is all scare tactics and it will not work. Here in the United States, we have two different measurements of hope. We have the consumer index and we have the UMich. UMich is more of a government-controlled sentiment gauge, and the UMich is showing that people have a lot of hope. The consumer is more of a people's gauge, and the consumer index is showing that people are a little nervous. Now, remember, the statistical numbers look great. Those people who have jobs, those people are working, they believe the economy is absolutely fantastic. And this is what Trump wants. Those people who don't have jobs, they're hoping that they're going to get a job because the economy is really starting to move now. And they're a little bit cautious and they're watching. What is happening right now is Trump is trying to win over everybody to position the economy, to position the narrative to go against the central bank. This is what we see happening right now. And this is why Trump is continually tweeting out there that the numbers look fantastic. Look at the stock market, look at the unemployment, look at the GDP. He's using all the weapons that the central banks, the deep state, has been using all along. Now, we see that the White House, they've confirmed that the auto tariffs, they're going to be delayed by 6 months right now, 180 days. And they're going to decide whether to impose tariffs on imported cars or parts, and they haven't made the final decision. But what we see happening, which is very positive, is that the U.S. has reportedly reached a deal to lift steel and aluminum tariffs on Canada and Mexico, removing a significant roadblock of congressional approval for Trump's revision of the North American Free Trade Agreement. The U.S. will lift tariffs within 48 hours in exchange for new measures that would block Chinese steel from entering the U.S. from Mexico and Canada, a practice known as transshipment. So we see something positive coming out of all this, but Trump, well, he hasn't decided that he's ready to make a deal with China. He's hoping when he meets Xi Jinping at the G20 summit that maybe they'll work something out. Now, I do believe that this is part of his strategy because every time the trade deals aren't worked out, the IMF, Christine Lagarde, comes out and continually says the following: the trade war between the United States and China could be a risk to the world economic outlook if it is not resolved. And they're hoping that the trade deal is not resolved because they will be able to use this to cover up the collapse of the global economic system. They're hoping to use this so it is not blamed on them. Trump, I do believe, he's continually stalling and allowing this to go on, even though that, China decided to back out. And I do believe that Xi Jinping and Trump, they're working together on this to trap the central bank because nothing is ever what it seems. And I do believe he needs this to stall long enough to allow the IMF, the central banks, to continue, and the deep state, the mainstream media, to continually repeat that, well, if we have these tariffs, if we don't, work out these trade deals, the entire global economic system is going to implode. Now, we know the global economic system is going to implode one way or another. It has nothing to do with the trade talks, has nothing to do with the tariffs. It has to do with the weight of debt, with the central bank system. The central bank system has been imploding on its own for a very long time. Remember, they were planning to use an event to cover it up. They've done this before many, many times. I mean, think about in the 70s when we came off the gold standard. We were switching from a gold standard to the petrodollar system. What was the excuse back then to cover up what they were doing? Now, they knew the whole thing was going to come crashing down. They knew that this was the beginning stages of their fiat system, where their fiat system was going to go absolutely crazy, where there was going to be a lot of currency created. They used gold speculation, that countries were speculating in the markets, and countries, they couldn't be trusted. So we had to come off the gold standard. They use this to cover up everything. They understand and they know that this system is about to implode, and they were really hoping for an event, because what can an event do? And we're talking about war. Well, if we entered a war, everyone would have to tighten their belts. We wouldn't see supplies on the shelves. Credit would freeze because we would be in a wartime economy. It's a perfect cover. If everything crashes now, what do we see? We see credit freeze. We see the shelves go bare. We see people losing jobs. You see how an event would cover up their entire economic collapse of the system? Without it, they're completely exposed. And I believe what Trump is doing is he wants the central bank to continually repeat their narrative, so this way he can make the deal, and the central bank, since they've been using their ammunition, telling everyone it's because of the tariffs, it's because of the trade war, they might even say it's because of the currency war. Once it's all worked out, they've used all their ammunition and they have nothing left. And you can see that Trump likes to do this. Think about all those individuals, the deep state, that have been using their ammunition. They give them wrong dates, when documents are going to be coming out, when they're going to declassify, when this is going to come out, and they use ammunition. He's using the same strategy with the central bank. He's preparing for what is about to happen. And what is going to happen is we're going to enter a crisis. He's going to show that the economy is flourishing. The economy is doing exactly what he wants it to do. He's going to show the rest of the world falling apart. And he's going to point to the central bank. Look what they did. They can't control the economy. I'm controlling the economy. I'm telling the central bank what to do. I mean, he's not going to say it in those type of words, because that would mean the Fed wasn't independent. But think about what he needs to do here. If the Fed starts raising rates, he just has to stay quiet during this period of time. Because if the Fed raises rates, then other central banks, well, they're going to follow and do pretty much the same thing. Because if you remember, the Fed was going to raise rates, then the ECB was going to raise rates, and they were going to follow suit because they were planning on bringing down the economy. Once Trump wins the election, he's going to allow the Fed to do what they do best. Now, the other central banks, they're going to believe that the Fed is back in control. But they're really not. They're doing exactly what Trump wants. Once the Fed starts to raise rates, the U.S. economy will stay strong. The rest of the world will start to fall apart very, very quickly. Trump will then start to point the finger at the other central banks, and he will need to expose them, just like he allowed the deep state to expose themselves with the border, with immigration, with the Mueller report, and everything else like that. He's going to use that same exact strategy on the central bank. He's doing it now, and he's going to continue and ramp this up. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.